Hello, my lovely Libra, and welcome to your moon reading. This is just a general reading, so please do take what resonates and toss the rest. Also, if you haven't had a chance to check out your moon reading for June, please do so. And also your general reading, your weekly reading is up for all signs, so please do check that out. Otherwise, without further ado, we will go ahead and do this moon reading. It is a 7-card circle. So if you haven't seen that before, again, it is up on my channel, and we will go ahead and get started here for you. If you do like this, please do like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future readings, and let's get started. So this first position is indicative of where you are now or what issues you may be facing. Second card is what kind of got you into this position. Third card is similar to the challenge card in a typical tarot reading. It kind of is what's keeping you in this cycle. The fourth card is your ultimate outcome, should you do what is suggested by the 5th, 6th, and 7th cards. So let's take a look and see what we've got going on here for you. Alrighty, so it does look like right now we have pleasure as your current state. So I think for many of you, this situation is that you're either in a situation where you've gotten into such a pleasurable state that you are, you're feeling very happy, you're feeling very joyful, but you may be in a situation that it's caused you some harm in other areas. For example, maybe you've gone to a place where you've gone overspending, perhaps, maybe you've done some retail therapy, those kinds of things. For others of you, this may be something where pleasure is what your situation is lacking, okay? So for some of you, you may just be feeling as though you're depleted, right? You're depleted of pleasure. Right now, you're just feeling like you've been working too hard, stressed out, exhausted, those kinds of things. And maybe this is what you're really needing the most. This is the thing that you are really, really honing in on. This is what you need the most, but you just can't get there right now. So, what's caused you to get to this position? And abundance, right? So for a lot of you, you're like, how can abundance be a bad thing? Well, again, for some of you, abundance, overkill, okay? So abundance can be like, if you've had abundance at work, right? If you own your own business, if you own your own job, if you're a person who works on commission, right? It's great to have tons of work, tons of business, tons of whatever. But if you're so abundant in that it's really sucked the life out of every other part of your existence, right? You haven't had time for yourself. You haven't had time for your family. You haven't had there's no self-love time for you because this is all you've been focused on is the abundance part. Then, realistically, the pleasure's kind of been sucked out of it. You haven't had time to even enjoy all the abundance that you've had, right? And for others of you, again, you may be in this pleasurable state, but it's almost like a manic state for some of you because you've been super abundant in that you've been really enjoying all this, but maybe it's caused problems in other parts of your life. Maybe you've been giving yourself a little too much gratification with spending, with, going places, partying, being with, other people, different things like that. And this has caused a little bit of, issues in your life that while it's been pleasurable, it can, in the long run, it's going to be an issue, right? And what's keeping you in this is balance, right? So I feel like for most of you, that's the big problem is you're out of balance, okay? The balance is off. So for those of you who've been just, overkill on abundance here, maybe you've worked too hard, you've been really killing it on that end, but you have no pleasure left because you just worked yourself silly. Your balance is off there. You have plenty of funds to show for it. Your business is booming possibly to show for it. Your work life is amazing to show for it, but your home life, personal life, self-love, down the toilet, right? And for others of you, it's the opposite. Maybe you've really been, hitting the self-pleasure situation where you're out having fun, you're out spending money, you're out going out with friends and other people and, doing all kinds of those fun things that, drinking and partying and whatever it may be. And you know, retail therapy, whatever it may be, but it's thrown your balance off on the abundance scale because you've been overabundantly indulging in pleasure situations, but that's cost you on the back end. Maybe you've lost loved ones over it. Maybe you've, you know, had breakups over it. Maybe you've lost finances over it. Your finances are in shambles over it, those kinds of things. But I do think that your balance is what's keeping you in this, because you're like so out of balance. You're like, I don't know how to get back on track, right? This is really where you're off, right? You're really off, and it's keeping you really stressed, you know, out of track. Even I mean, you're at your happiest, but then you come back to reality for a quick moment and you're like, oh crud, you know? So that's kind of the situation. What is your ultimate end game here, or what would you like to see here, is attraction. And the thing about attraction here is that this can be attraction to anything that is positive to you. This can be your grounding, okay? So if you look at it, it's like attraction, and then, you know, here we have you know, a planetary grounding, almost super moon. So this is kind of like being grounded again. So it's not necessarily an attraction to a specific person or a job or anything like that necessarily, but it's more like your personal grounding. So it's kind of like getting yourself back into a balance that is safe, secure, you know, emotionally sound, financially sound, those kinds of things. More of like an attraction to a normal, basic, calmative situation that you would like to have, right? And how do you get there, especially if you've let yourself kind of get out of whack a little bit, per se, or so to speak. So number one is growth, right? And the thing is, this is basically saying you need an environment that's good for growth, okay? So the number one thing you need to do is you need to create that environment, okay? So if you're doing nothing but spending your time at work and your home life is suffering, and your you know, your self-love or care is suffering because you're not taking time for yourself, you need to change that. You need to change your circumstance. You need to take a little time away from that. Adversely, if you're of the opposite side of that, where you are just really enjoying yourself a little bit too much, you may need to kind of ground yourself, come back into a place that is safer, calmer, a little bit more sustainable, you know, where you can kind of grow in a safe, secure, manageable, balanced way, healthy way, okay? Because, you know, if you're out with different people all the time, or people you can't trust, or partying all the time, or spending money all the time, or, you know, those kinds of things, that's not sustainable, right? That's not a safe, healthy, growing, sustainable growth environment for you on an emotional, mental, physical, financial level in any way, right? So that's the first thing you need to do, is get your, you know, get your environment in check, right? The next thing you need to do is resistance, okay? So you've got to resist those urges. Obviously, if you're a person who is really, you know, swung to the side of really pleasure, and, you know, it may be because you've come out of really, really bad relationships, really, really bad situations, really volatile jobs, really volatile home lives, whatever it may be, and you're just like, I just needed this break. And you've just taken it a little bit too far to where it started to kind of like, you know, you've gone too long with it, and now you're kind of like, okay, now I've kind of lost people, friends, family, you know, finances, those kinds of things. Or, you know, adversely, if you're the person who's really, really just poured your whole life into work, and so now you don't really have anything but funds to show for it, you know, you need to resist those urges, whatever it was that was compelling you to do those things. You know, you need to resist that, right? Resist and look and say, okay, what is it that I need to do to get back into a place where I can sustain a positive, happy balance, a happy medium, right? You know, I don't want to be this person all the time. It was great. Everybody needs to blow off some steam now and then, right? But it's not sustainable for a lifetime, right? And for those of you who are working themselves into submission and, you know, have no time for anything else, you have to think about, is that even, number one, is it sustainable to work yourself to death? And number two, do you really want to? You know, it's like they say on people's deathbed, is it something that you hear often? The one thing I wish is I worked more. No, you don't, right? So resist those urges. You know, it may be nice, you know, there's a lot of people who get addicted to like, oh, look at that income coming in. Yeah, but if you can't ever enjoy it with the people that you love, what's the point, right? So you have to resist that, okay? And once you are in a safe and healthy environment, you've removed the things that, you know, are kind of really kind of swaying you to those sides. You've resisted those temptations and, you know, those urges, and you really have created the environment that's more self-sustaining, easier to handle, even more capable to be, you know, controlled and balanced and all of that. This is where you can start to blossom, right? This is where you can start to kind of get back on track and say, okay, I can strike a happy medium, right? I don't need to be always happy and content. It's okay to be sad sometimes if you came out of something really bad and that's why you went this way. For those of you, on the other hand, that said, you know, I had to work myself into submission because I felt that's what I needed to do for my family, you can say it's okay to have less material things, but to be able to have my family is more important. You know, we can do without that, but I can't do without my family. You know, get that balance where you can start to blossom in your way, in what's important to you. But you're not going to be able to get there until you're able to resist certain, you know, immediate excitement and urges and things that you've got going on here, until you get things back in balance and until you create an environment that is going to, you know, benefit you in that way. So if you're hanging out with people that are really pushing you to, you know, continue this lifestyle, you may need to get rid of those people. If you're hanging out at a job or working or whatever, people who are pushing you to do nothing but make that your life, then, you know, you need to get away from that too. So whatever it is, try to kind of follow through with that. So hopefully this helped you. If it did, please do like, subscribe, share, all that other great stuff. And I hope to see you back soon. But I definitely do believe that once you get all of this settled, then you will have this grounding, this attraction to the life that you want. This will be what you find. You will find your happy medium that you will be attracted to, that is your perfect grounding, that is the life that you really want. And that will be your ultimate outcome, and it will be the perfect outcome for you. So I do think you will be back in balance before too long. You just have to kind of set some boundaries and parameters and get there. And that shouldn't be any problem for you. I know you've got that in you. So have a great one, and I hope to see you soon. Don't forget to hit that notification bell. You do not want to miss your July general readings. Bye.